Yo, what's poppin' guys, Sizzle here, and today we're taking a look at all the FiveSeven skins in CS to try and figure out what the best one is. So first off, we have stock. Pretty solid as far as stock skins go. Just very clean, solid grayscale, just nice shape, nice everything. It's just clean. I mean, it's actually one of the better ones, I'd say. And for that, we get to put the stock FiveSeven, which interesting, it's right here. I think it's honestly probably a low C tier. Might have to move it to high D depending on how good the FiveSeven skins are, because I know there's a lot of good ones. So, yeah. Then we have our first actual skin, the FiveSeven Jungle. Pretty clean, just solid recolor. I'll literally say bad, right? You get the nice colored top and nice colored bottom with, you know, not the best colors, but they are two just solid colors. I'd say it's probably alright. I'd say, honestly, okay, I'm gonna move it down to, suck down to D tier. I'm gonna put this right above it in D tier. It's just a nice recolor. Very clean, very solid, just very simple. Next up, we have the FiveSeven Anodized Gunmetal, which is, you know, it's one of those side grades to stock. Instead of having just a normal, you know, like gray, like plasticky FiveSeven, you have one with like an actual metal top. It's basically just a straight upgrade as far as I'm concerned. It's just pretty solid. You know, nothing crazy yet again, but definitely not bad. So yeah, I'd say that's probably your best one so far, but still very much a D tier skin. Next up, we have the Forest Knight. It's your basic camo skin. I'm not the biggest fan of camo skins, and you know, this one's still pretty cleanly done. Nice colors, you know, decent camo. Not that much camo to it, so it's pretty nice. But I really don't like camo skins much, and this one has enough camo, and there's enough alternative FiveSeven skins that I actually feel pretty comfortable putting this low D tier. Whereas for most other like weapons, if the skin looked like this, I'd say honestly I would probably put it in C tier normally, but for the FiveSeven, I think it is a D tier skin. Then we have the Contractor. Another very basic recolor. I think this one's less good than the other one. This actually makes the FiveSeven look like the P2000, so I guess if you like the stock P2000, then this is your skin, but that's not a big thing for me, so for me it's a low D tier. I'd be honestly surprised if there's any F tier FiveSeven skins. Then we have the FiveSeven Coolant, which actually, you know, maybe this one is F tier. It's literally just the last skin we had, but worse, because it has this like awful texture on top. I guess it's a better color, but this texture does not match the bottom at all. It looks pretty awful. Actually, I'm gonna put this one as F tier. It's just not good. Next up, we have ourselves the FiveSeven Candy Apple. Just like any other candy apple, this one's like absurdly clean, very nice looking, nice color red, nice bottom, just a nice mix. It's just absurdly clean, absurdly good looking. Solid A tier for sure, possibly S tier, but there's a lot of good FiveSeven skins, so I don't want to jump the gun on that. Anyway, next up we have the FiveSeven Orange Peel. Actually, this one's pretty awful. I mean, it's like it's got orange on it, and I guess, you know, if you want an orange FiveSeven, this is one of two options, unless the only one with the top being orange. So this unfortunately might be your only option. But it looks pretty bad. I mean, the colors of orange is fine. It's just the way it's used, like the whole pattern is awful, and the other colors used just do not go well with orange. You know. Yeah, I'd say that's probably an F tier. Probably about the Coolant though, because at least it is orange. That's somewhat unique. Then we have the FiveSeven Hotshot, which, yeah, I mean, it's another like kind of side grade to stock. This one's like that P2000 looking one, except with a slightly different top, and then these like lime parts, which I think make it look a little bit worse, but definitely not like awful. So I'd say it's just probably right under the Contractor. Then next up we have ourselves the FiveSeven Withered Vine. Absurdly dull skin where it's really hard to actually see the pattern underneath. I think this one's kind of ass. I wouldn't use this. There's so many good FiveSeven skins with something even mediocre like this that's normally just a D tier skin. Actually, it just kind of belongs in the F tier. Next up, we have the FiveSeven Silver Quartz. And, you know, it's kind of just a downgrade to stock. The top looks completely out of place with the bottom. They should have made a custom bomb to go with this, and maybe it would have went a bit better. But as is, this is just worse than stock and worse than the other side grades. I can't think of a reason you'd want to use this. I think it's the lowest F tier we've had so far. Then next up, we have the FiveSeven Nitro. This one is the other orange FiveSeven I was talking about. It's got a orange bottom and a nice, grayish top. If it was the other way around, this might actually be a really clean skin like the candy apple. It's just a different color of paint. But since it's inverted, you don't see the bottom half as much as you see the top half on the FiveSeven. You pretty much only see the top half, actually, and only see the bottom when you reload. That makes this one a little bit less good, but it is still pretty clean, and it has the orange color, which is, big thing for some people. So I'm going to put in C tier for that. Yeah. And next up, we have the FiveSeven Crimson Blossom, which is one I've pretty much never seen game. And I can kind of see why. I think this is mainly a trade-up skin because it's part of the Saint Mark collection, which was a lot of expensive stuff. It has a pretty awful looking top half, and then just an okay, clean, violet bottom. It's overall just not good, really at all. I'm probably gonna put it at the top of F tier, to be honest. Then next up, we have the FiveSeven Kami. This one's pretty infamous, or Cami Kami, whatever you want to call it. Basically, we got the stock bottom half, and then the top half is like a random bit of cartoon, like some random cartoon. You can see this one's got an interesting looking barrel. There's a lot of pretty infamous patterns that go in the back here. I happen to have one that I really like currently. Where do I have it? There's like a little V face in the back, which I really like. That's mine right here. You can see it's like 2 dots and a nice little V. There's a lot of really unique patterns for this one, and mainly what you care about is the back here, but you can have some cool stuff on the front here too. I just happen to not have some myself. Overall though, pretty solid skin, pretty hard to go wrong with. I'd say it's probably, honestly, it might not deserve an S tier, but I'm going to put it in S tier because I like that uniqueness. There's not a lot of skins where the pattern matters as much as it does for the Kami. And a lot of them are very unique, you have your own personal taste in it. There's like 1,000 different patterns, and probably like 200 of them are pretty solid. So you have a lot of very unique options to pick from with the weapon. Every Kami is like kind of its own skin, which I do really like. Then next up we have the Nightshade, which got a nice-ish blue bottom with a pretty shit carpet-looking top. It is a unique color scheme we haven't seen before, so I'll give it credit for that and put it at the bottom of D tier, but that's about as far as I can put it. The top half of this weapon looks just completely awful. Then next up, we have the FiveSeven Urban Hazard, and this is basically the candy apple, but HD, refined, I guess. I personally prefer the candy apple of this a million times over, but this is definitely still a very solid, nice red skin. So I'm going to put it probably at the top of C tier. It's a pretty good looking skin, pretty hard to go wrong with. Let me the FiveSeven Violet Daimyo, whatever. This one's kind of cool. It's both dull and vibrant, which is a very interesting thing. I don't know how they really pulled that off, but you can clearly see everything, but it also is really dark and isn't affected by lighting. It's got a bunch of random designs here and there, some which look pretty solid, a bunch of different patterns that mix together really well, and all the colors on this just work together really, really well. I like how this one comes together, and I think it looks pretty solid, and it's got nice colors a lot of people might like, so I'm going to put it in B tier. Next up, we have the FiveSeven Scumbria, and it's basically just like a fish camo on the top. Pretty simple side grade, pretty nice, it's pretty hard to go wrong with this one. It's just a decent, probably I'd say upgrade to stock. So I'm gonna put it top of D tier. Then next up we have the FiveSeven Capillary. This one's got blood vessels kind of going along the skin with a just iffy background. I mean that's it. It's alright. It's got some decent colors, got an okay pattern, but I don't really want to give it a lot of credit. Beyond that, that's really all it does. Just decent colors, okay-ish pattern. I think it's a high D tier, and I think I'm gonna move up the side grades to C tier so that D tier is not too cluttered. Then next up we have the FiveSeven Flame Test, and yeah, this one's pretty nice. Got a nice simple purple top with a nice flame coming off the front. Very simple. It's got like a bit of glitter on it too, so with the new glitter stickers that came out like a few months ago, this works pretty well with those probably. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple skin, a pretty solid skin, pretty hard to go wrong with. I'd say it's probably a decently high C tier 5-7. And next up, we have ourselves the FiveSeven Scroll. I only found about this one pretty recently, and I really like this back part here, and this is something you actually will see in the game, is this like little smiling zombie guy with two different colored eyes. You also got this little face up on the sides, and like the kind of pants to go with that little guy up there. The main design of the weapons, just a bunch of like different artwork and stuff that kind of flows together pretty well, and a decent color scheme that makes you think of like zombie-like stuff. I don't know why, but these types of colors do really make me think of like Apocalypse. So yeah, I mean it's just a pretty cool skin, very nice details, very solid all around. I'd say it's probably a B tier, a low B tier skin. Then next up we have the FiveSeven Neon Kimono. I know this one's extremely pattern based. You could either have it like more neon or more white, depending on what pattern you get. This clearly is one of the more neon ones, but yeah, I really like this one. The neon on top looks amazing. When it's full white as well, it looks almost even better. They both look absolutely phenomenal, and this back neon part always goes with whatever the front pattern is. It always looks nice, and the bottom is just very plain and simple and goes with the top really well. It's an extremely vibrant and good-looking skin, and for me, that's enough for A tier. Next up, we have the FiveSeven Berries and Cherries. Very simple skin. I think it's pattern-based on how much blue and red you get, but it just looks really nice. You have a nice blue and red, they just look good, you know? I don't know how to describe why these like two things at the top look as good as they do, but they look absurdly clean, absurdly good, and it's just a great skin. I'd say, honestly, S tier skin. I absolutely love the berries and cherries. Then next up, we have ourselves the FiveSeven Soden, and this one's also a pretty pattern-based one, where, you know, you either get more gold or more blue. I think the blue variant doesn't really go that hard on the FiveSeven. Maybe I'm wrong with that, and if I am, feel free to correct me, but I do know, like, you can get a full gold one pretty much at the top. Honestly, I think the case hardened here is a lot less cool than, like, the AK case hardened, but it's pretty solid. It's pretty okay. Especially if you get, like, one of the cooler patterns. So I'm gonna probably put it a low B tier, because I think, if you get, like, a cool blue or gold gem or something, it can be pretty solid. But even then, I think the berries and cherries just kind of outclasses it in like most scenarios. Then we have the Copper Galaxy, which, yeah, this one's absurdly dull or absurdly bright. There's no in between. It just does not look good. I couldn't tell you exactly why. I think I just don't like the colors used on the top here. And, the top doesn't seem to match the bottom all that much unless you're in like absurdly perfect lighting. So for me, this one's actually just a high F tier. I wouldn't really use it. Then next up, we have the FiveSeven Retribution, which is kind of interesting. Got a few different like racing line looking things going across the skin, crawling around the edges, and then a black center and like white outsides. It's pretty colorful, but the pattern's nothing too impressive or bad. I'd say it's just kind of run-of-the-mill design. I'm gonna put it low C tier. I think that's about fair. Then we have the FiveSeven Triumvirate? Triumvirate? I don't know. This one's pretty much impossible to say. Anyway, they have like a camo bottom with a different pattern on top. Somehow these two kind of mix pretty well. I wouldn't think they would, and I don't really understand how they do. But these two patterns mix really well. The colors go really well. There's a lot of different colors, but they somehow kind of blend together in a way that feels like natural. I think this one's actually kind of cool. It's like a combination of like 3 different camos that somehow mix together and work. So I'm going to put it in the middle seats here. Then next up, we have the FiveSeven Body. And yeah, this one tried something similar, except instead of mixing multiple camos, it just has one camo skin. And it changes colors halfway through. Like, it's actually the same pattern. It kind of looks like it just mashes together directly, but the colors are changed. And this one doesn't look as cool. I mean, it doesn't look, like, awful or anything, but I don't like camo skins, and this is basically just, like, a worse version of a camo skin, honestly. So for me, that's, like, a low D tier, almost F tier, but I don't really think it belongs with the stuff that it is an F tier, so I'm gonna say D tier. Let me the FiveSeven Boost Protocol, and this one's kind of cool. You got like this little, like either villain or hero mask at the top. You have boost and some stars at the front here. Some cool colors on top, and then a nice like simple bottom. It's pretty nice. It's nothing crazy. It's definitely not bad though. Wouldn't really ever say this is bad. I'm honestly gonna put it at a high C tier as well. Then next up we were first pink, the FiveSeven Fall Hazard, which, yeah, when you got construction written like 50 times, you have a guy falling here that you're never gonna see, and then you see the word fall up front. Got a nice set of colors going across it, I guess. You have, yellow, green, blue, green, like going across the whole thing. Other than that, I mean, this is a pretty basic one. It's just alright. I'm probably gonna put it just somewhere in C tier. Probably toward the middle, because it's got some nice colors, I guess, even if the design's pretty iffy. Next up, we have the FiveSeven Foul Play. And, yeah, this one just kind of looks like bad. The top, part is kind of an iffy pattern color combo, and then the bottom does not match the top at all and just does not go together whatsoever. I guess it does have a unique color that you don't see too often on these skins, but I still think it's probably an F tier skin. Then next up, we have the FiveSeven Bunky Business. Pretty classic FiveSeven skin. It's just a simple banana across the skin on a decent navy blue backdrop. But yeah, this one's super noticeable in game. You see the big banana, you're like, oh, that's the banana pistol. It's super recognizable, super iconic, and super good looking. I mean, it's very simple, very nice colors, pretty clean. I'd say it's a high A tier. It does not match up with the stuff in S tier though. Those two skins are kind of nuts. Then we have the FiveSeven Fairy Tale, which I don't think I've ever seen before. This one's interesting. Got a bunch of girlish stuff that they might like. For me, this doesn't really speak to me as a skin, but I could see why it might speak to a lot of people, especially younger girls or whatever might like this a bit more. But yeah, for me, I mean, this is a very pattern dependent one. You either like what you see in the pattern or you don't. And for me, it's just not that great. But I could see why some people might think of this as like a nice tier skin. But for me, it's like a very low C tier one. Because I don't like the design that much. Just like what it has to offer. Then we have the FiveSeven Hyper Beast, which is, that's more up my alley. And, like every other Hyper Beast, this one's done pretty well. You have the tongue going down onto the trigger, which is really cool. The classic, mouth opening here into, some kind of hyper beam thing up in the front. Very simple, very solid. Good colors, good design. I mean, it's really hard to go wrong with Hyper Beast normally, and this one is definitely no exception. I'm gonna say it's probably a high B tier. And then we're up to our final FiveSeven skin, the FiveSeven Angry Mob. This is another one I don't remember ever seeing before. It's pretty cool. It's that one, I don't know if you guys know that one Wii U game where you kind of fling these blocks onto like almost like Angry Bird style. You fling them out, try to land them on like a dartboard almost. That's what this reminds me of, is those four little cube guys. And they're just kind of shouting off into this nice blue skin. Unfortunately, you don't get to see these guys too often. I think this is mainly covered by your hand. But if you do, I mean, it's a pretty solid design, really nice colors, and I actually do kind of like it. I'm gonna probably put this one as a, a decent B tier, and I'll move up the Hyper Beast to A tier to, kind of even out the tier list a bit more. But yeah, that's the FiveSeven skins, in my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people might disagree with me, especially on the Case Harden. I think that one's a pretty well-liked FiveSeven skin, but for me it doesn't do that much. But feel free to argue with me in the comments, or just agree with me. I always love to read your comments. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed looking at these skins as much as I did, and I will see you in the next one.